This week on the Gridcast, I'm really excited to be joined by Amir Jesmi, a well-respected name in the power industry and more than 20 years experience across Australia and Iran. Throughout his career, Amir has worked with some of the biggest names in the market, building deep expertise in engineering for major projects within the sector. And the timing could not be better as he's recently stepped into a new chapter by founding his own consultancy, Enervia. Amir, thank you for joining me. How are you doing?
Thank you, Liam. Thank you for having me on your podcast. I'm excited for our conversation. I'm very happy to be connected with very good people like yourself.
Thank you, mate. Thank you. I guess before we jump into Enervia, which is the big exciting news that we're going to cover during the course of this conversation, I know from us chatting in the past that you've had a pretty fascinating career, both in Iran. I know you had your own business over there and those bits and pieces, and also over here in Australia. You've clearly not done badly either. So it'd be interesting to kind of run through that and give everyone a better idea of, I guess, your career up to Iran and then moving over and some of the challenges you had there. So you're able to give us a bit of an overview of that kind of journey and how that's looked?
Yeah, I started my career even before I finished the uni. I studied in Iran in Sharif University, one of the well-known universities in Iran. Before I graduated, I started working for a small test equipment company. Then, as soon as I got graduated, I went to transmission industry and I started working for a consultancy as a design engineer. I worked there for a few years, then moved to another company to help them to design and build transmission lines and substations. And then towards the middle of the project, I started transitioning into project engineering role, which was a very exciting opportunity to have me exposed to the construction side of things. And I was very lucky to be able to go to site and see the civil works, see the structures, equipment, buildings, and then get into the commissioning phase all the way through, which helped me to understand why we design some of the things that we design and how they work and how they come together. It was probably the highlight of my career when, as a young engineer, I had the privilege of being exposed to that experience. And after that, I transitioned to project management roles. I went and built a few substations. I have built one of the most challenging transmission lines in Iran, and the challenges was mainly because of the community issues, similar to what we are experiencing now in Australia.
Yep.
And then, yes, as you mentioned briefly, I then started my own business. And after a while, I decided to come to Australia. I sold my shares in the business to my partners, and I went to brush up my knowledge in the design space because my intention was when I come to Australia, I'd go and do the design again, which was a very good decision.
Just to jump in, just to kind of got a few questions. I don't want to forget them whilst you're explaining, so forgive me for jumping in. But with that decision to come to Australia, because I think this is something that a lot of people kind of go through, various different countries coming over to Australia, and decisions around it are always different. I mean, myself, I'm from the UK originally. Like, what was your motivating factor? What made you think Australia is the place for me, and that's where I want to head?
Look, I made that decision relatively young age, and when you're younger, you have lots of space for risk.
Yeah.
I I didn't have very clear understanding as where the Australia is, how the market is operating here. And when the situation wasn't the greatest back at home, we sat down and we decided that's probably this is a good move. Look, I wasn't expecting that Australia would be so great, and I was more concerned about the risk, and we were focused about the risk. Both myself and wife, we sat down and had long conversations about the steps that we're taking, and we decided that's probably it's worth the risk to go and try it. I'm very, very grateful for what Australia has given me as an engineer. Look, it was a decision that we made at the time with all the surrounding conditions. I think we made a good choice and we moved to a right country.
Yeah, nice. And what was some of because I remember you saying to me that, your English wasn't amazing when you first came to Australia. Was that one of the biggest challenges, or how did you find it when you first came?
Of course. Look, there are countries that they speak English, of course, like UK. You come from the country which has very similar sort of culture, very sort of similar systems, if you like, and then the language is the greatest help for you guys to come and do it. For us, coming from a country which people don't speak English in general, and we have to acknowledge that even the subjects in universities, they're all in Farsi, or mostly in Farsi, and of course some of the textbooks are English, but in classrooms and other places, and the workplace is absolutely in Farsi. Everything was in Farsi. So for me, it was really challenging. And of course, you go and get a bit of training. You have to do IELTS exam and all of those.
Yeah.
But even when you get those numbers, you needed to get a certain number, like a certain mark in the IELTS exam, to be able to successful to apply for the migration, which in my case was a skilled migrant visa. I had the good score in the IELTS. Then I came to Australia, and it was absolutely different beast. So
yeah, you got to learn the Australian slang words and those types of things.
It's exactly like it's not just the language itself which is complicated, but also the slangs, the accents, all of that. So when I arrived, I make this example that I could simply say, hello, how are you? Probably a bit more than that, but of course I had my own challenges. And first few years, maybe the first 2, 3, up to 5 years was not easy. Yep. Even then, and even now, after so many years, there are areas which I would never be perfect. It would never be my mother tongue and native language.
Yeah, but I mean, from what you're saying, you've come a long way, because obviously completely fluent, and I would imagine you know all the Aussie slang words now. So
I appreciate my fellow Australians that they helped us to manage the situation.
Yeah, no, good stuff. And then I guess getting back to like your career from there, then, so you came over, you were focusing on that kind of design space. That's where you wanted to kind of operate more. And then how did it go from there once you kind of arrived in Australia?
I came to Australia, challenging to secure a place to live in. Few weeks in a hotel. One day, applied for a few jobs, and I was very lucky to get 3 interviews straight up. While I was still in a hotel, I was successful in one of the jobs. I worked there for a very short time. It was more of a medium voltage distribution design, which wasn't my sweet spot. Then I went and worked for UGL after a few weeks. The first year was a contracting job, so it was easy to leave. And then I started permanent role in UGL, and I stayed there for 14 years. 14 beautiful, nice years.
Yeah, no, it's a pretty cool story, really, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, you came in, no Australia-based experience. You managed to find your feet at a pretty well-established and renowned organization like UGL, and then you stayed there for 14 years and built a pretty solid career through the process as well, and obviously worked your way up through the ranks and that type of thing. So, yeah, no, it's a pretty cool story for sure.
And look, I think it comes to the small decisions and small moves that you take. For me, I was very well aware of the challenges that I would have. I knew that I have done the design work elsewhere, but I need to adjust it to what's happening in a new country with a new language, new culture, everything. And that awareness of the situation gives you a very strong tool and motivation to go and try harder. And I remember early days in UGL, not even early days, always I tried to learn and study and spend time and focus and work hard and deliver the tasks properly, because I knew that this area I don't know, that area I don't know, and then I focused on those areas and I improved myself. I had lots of help. I had lots of great people around myself, and I'm very appreciative of the help and the support that I had from my colleagues. But the main thing is that you know what you don't know and you try to achieve.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And you must have done that to, stay there so long, and not only just stay there, but if you look through your career history, obviously you kind of worked in various different roles and gathered seniority through the process as well. So, that's really good. And I guess focusing on UGL, with that such a long stint there, was there any particular projects or milestones that you were particularly proud of, that you worked on either individually or as a team whilst you were there?
Look, UGL, the good thing about UGL and why I chose to jump from my first job immediately to UGL was because UGL was, or that division of UGL that I worked for was doing exactly what I was doing in Iran. So it was transmission, substations, mainly substations back then in 2010. And then I had great people around myself, and I decided I'm going to go and do this one nicely. Within UGL, all the time, there were challenges, there were interesting projects, there were things that I dedicated time towards, but it's not like one project that I'm proud of. It's just those tasks and those efforts that I put in. I remember I was working on a project for Transcript. We were doing an installation coordination study for them, which we did it in a very simplified manner, with very simplified method. And I was very new to that topic anyway myself. We went to a meeting with Transcript. There were a few senior engineers from UGL, very senior engineers from UGL, our chief engineers at the time. And then there were a few very experienced engineers in Transcript. When we left the meeting, we came and said, all right, so we don't know this stuff, so we're going to go and learn and do it properly. So I remember I was given the direction that I need to go and do it full steam. I grabbed a room within the UGL office. I locked myself there for about a month. And I was not doing anything but reading the books and standards and writing sort of some codes or programs to learn installation coordination. And it wasn't like just 1 month. Of course, it takes, and it's such a broad and complicated topic that takes you time to grasp it fully. And still, even today, in Enervia, I'm doing it. But I'm proud of going through that process, going through the learning process. I'm proud of that I've pushed myself hard to learn earthing and the relevant software. And I'm proud of learning HV cable fully in details. And those topics that I went and learned. And what I'm also proud of is that I was very open about how I have done it, what I have learned, and I tried to transfer it to my fellow colleagues, like the UGL colleagues. And it was through that bouncing of the ideas together that I got better, and I'm becoming better even today in, getting involved in the conversations and discussions about all those topics and learning new things every day. And I acknowledge that if anybody wants to become better, they have to share the knowledge and they have to work with the others, because it is complicated, it is broad, it is massive. You can't learn everything just yourself, and it's just through that process of back and forth that you learn, and you grab it from colleagues, clients, consultants, everybody.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I guess from what you're saying around the installation coordination, the HV cable design, all that type of thing, UGL ultimately gave you that platform to be able to go and learn it specifically and that type of thing. And yeah, I think that's a good lesson as well for young engineers that were potentially coming through the ranks at the moment, trying to look at someone like your career and thinking, how do I achieve that? Well, that shows the dedication that you went through to, think, I need to know installation coordination for this project. I'm going to go and learn it. I'm going to lock myself in this room. I'm going to get it done.
So probably it's the right time for me to mention it, Liam. I've been in Australia for about 15 years, more than 15 years. And one of my observations is that we are not very good in the transmission industry that I've spent my time in. We are not good in the mentorship. We are not good in trying to teach the knowledge to the younger engineers. It's a multi-faceted topic and problem. It's about people don't want to teach. It's about time that doesn't exist for the people to put in. It's about the budget, and it's about that desire of collaboration with the others. I think we have some work in that area to be done.
Yeah, for sure. That has come up a couple of times, I guess, since I've been having these conversations and separate to these conversations with the Gridcast as well, that, it's such an important thing, isn't it? But sometimes can get easily overlooked when everybody's so busy and that type of thing. So, yeah,
it's that desire and in the individuals to go and push the boundaries and get engaged with younger engineers and teach them this stuff. I know it needs a time, it needs effort, it needs patience, but we have to do it because we need to transfer that knowledge. Others will learn it anyway. If they're keen, they'll go and study and do and try hard. But let's make it easier for everyone to learn it, especially the younger engineers.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's some work to be done there. And I guess kind of after UGL then, so And from what you told me in the past, that mentorship thing was huge in UGL, wasn't it? There was a lot of, you tried to promote that a lot from what you've told me. Was that right?
Look, I loved it. I loved the knowledge, the science, the technology.
Yeah.
I wanted the team to be together, work together, be happy, come to work every day, and just be excited about the new things that you're going to learn or the new things that you're going to do. It wasn't just like, let's go and learn installation coordination. It's just, let's go and have some fun with my colleagues. Let's go and grab a coffee together. Let's go and have lunch. Get involved in the conversation. Just feel being part of the team. And that promotes the mentorship within it, because the others, they're so close to you and you've shared so much personal stuff with them, which you feel committed in teaching them and helping them. And I think we managed, as a team of 20 engineers or so, we managed to grow that culture very well within the team. So there was no one holding things back or being a bit reluctant to teach the others or being involved in the other conversations. And no, it was a great culture and the team environment that we managed to create.
Yeah, nice. And I guess then from moving from UGL, you went to Garuda next. What was the kind of thought process there? Was it 14 years and you were thinking, I'm ready for a change, or how did all that kind of work out?
Look, towards the end of UGL, I was thinking, I have delivered what I could. I have contributed as much as I could. And remember, those organizations are big corporate organizations. There are certain things that you can and you cannot do. And I don't blame anybody for it. It's just the nature of something of that scale, which any movement, any change, any sort of new thing is very difficult, and it's just the inertia of the system which is big. So I was thinking maybe I need to make a move and go and do my own thing. So the idea of creating something for my own, which I shared with other friends, wasn't about a few months ago. It was about a few years ago. Back then, I discussed it with a few friends. They were keen, they were not keen. Then, while I was deciding to do it, the opportunity of Garuda came about. And Garuda was a new player in the market. I was very excited that, coming in from overseas, trying to build a team in Australia from Malaysia is such a big thing for them, and I wanted to be part of it. I wanted to go and contribute and build a team. So yeah, that was the main reason that I moved to Garuda. And I'm saying, Garuda is a very well established, very reputable company, and I appreciate them for the opportunity that I had in the last 1.5 years with them. But of course, as I explained, big corporates, and they have their own ways of performing. And I realized that if I want to be impactful, I need to make a change. And hence I decided to make a move. I brought up the idea with my managers in Garuda. They were very supportive in helping me, and I appreciate it. And then, with the help from the team in Garuda, I left Garuda and I started Enervia.
Yeah, and I guess that's the exciting bit, right? Like that's the going out on your own and taking that leap and that risk is always the exciting bit. So I mean, how have you found it so far? Like what's your thoughts so far in taking that initial step?
I'm very grateful. I'm so excited and I'm so happy that I did it. It's just every day I wake up and I have a reason, and I have something exciting sitting there for me to go and attend.
Yep.
I'm very, very appreciative of the support that I have from my friends, from my colleagues, from the clients. I've been engaged by some very reputable companies. We are delivering some work as we speak, and we are very proud of it. Of course, we have challenges, as always. I have this saying with my partners when we are talking about Enervia and the challenges. It's like any system, that initial inertia in the system, you need to overcome that inertia. There is no way that you can start a car and move the car with gear number 4. You have to have gear number 1 engaged. Electrical engineers would know it very well, that there is that startup current. We call it, there is a nice terminology for it. When you start a motor, it just drags so much current to just overcome that inertia. And
Yep.
it's a universal thing for anything. The start is difficult. It will get better as you go through the details.
Yeah, exactly. I guess another way of putting it is kind of walk before you run, right? You've got to build the foundations, and then once it's all up and running, then you have the capacity to deliver on bigger projects and all that type of thing. So
saying this, Liam, the environment that the industry creates is very important for young companies to be successful. It's, of course, your efforts, your relationships, your desire to be successful, which plays a big role. But the environment that the industry creates, the government creates, the clients create, it's very, very crucial, very crucial. We've had that conversation in the past, probably with few, maybe even yourself or a few other colleagues, that current environment is a very, very positive environment, that we've got so much work in the industry. But the way that we are going to manage those works and have the consistency in delivering the project into the market plays a big role in how smaller companies like us would be successful. The consistency. Yep. The big corporates, because they're just big and they have massive inertia, they're not going to get impacted by small changes in the market. So they can last very long time. But if you're having hiccups and delays in the projects or the work which is coming to the market, I think the small companies will start struggling. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, and I'm very sad to say that recent mega projects have not been a very great example of consistent injection of the work into the market. For various reasons, we've had challenges, we've had hiccups, start, stop. I don't want to name any project, but I'm sure my colleagues and peers and yourself are very well aware of some of those projects that always they're saying, oh, coming, but then gets delayed. It starts and then it stops. It makes the situation challenging.
Yeah, absolutely, and that is one thing I wanted to discuss with you. But I guess just before we jump onto that topic, just to kind of talk about Enervia a little bit more. I know it's your new exciting venture. So just for the sake of people listening, are you able to give a little bit of an overview of like what you guys are doing, your services, like how you're impacting your clients at the moment, like what you actually offer?
So we have we are all coming from transmission and renewable background. We've done lots of transmission projects, either it's a transmission line, a substation, or even the power generation. We've done it in the past. We've done a few solar farms and a few best projects in the past. The individuals I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I think we can cover those areas very well. Transmission line design, especially on the electrical space, is one of the areas that we are very efficient and we're very good at. I think we know BESS and substation and solar farm very well. So we are happy to get involved in those type of projects. What the value that we bring is in effective designs, especially when we are involved at the concept stage. We can improve the things much better, and that's one thing that the industry or the developers, especially in this, will need to understand. Everybody can come up with a design. You over-design it, you make it safe. You design, and there are areas that you can improve, but you don't know how to improve. Finally, you have a design, you go and build it, that's fine. You would never realize how much potential for saving was there unless you have a good engineering team alongside yourself. So when that team designs something very cost effective for you, that's only then that you realize how those two things compare. And in one of the recent jobs that we've done for one of our very good clients, we did it for them very concept stage. Therefore, we did it with a minimum cost for ourselves. So basically, what we charged them was very small number. But what we achieved, or what they achieved, was easily millions of dollars of saving in the overall picture.
Yeah.
We were designing a substation and a BESS, and how we put them together, it opened up so much space that the client could go and install the extra 200 megawatt of batteries in it.
Yeah.
So these are the type of the engagements that you get from us, and we can deliver the value up front where otherwise you wouldn't see it.
Got you. And I guess from the suite of engineering services you've mentioned, I guess from my perspective, I see a overview of what type of disciplines in the market are quite difficult to come by, and the suite you're offering from an engineering perspective is definitely the areas that
we are mostly primary designers, if you like, or
right.
Some of our partners are primary designer, which is a very scarce skill set in the market nowadays. Right. And we've got years and years of experience. Not just we are not generalists; we are specialists in what we do.
Yeah.
And our focus is on the quality of the job that we deliver. Honest engagement with clients, telling them what you know, and helping them to achieve the goals that they have.
Yep. No, it's exciting, and it sounds like you're primed with the services that you're offering to be able to impact the industry, which is obviously crying out for capable people at the moment. So no, all good on that front. And in terms of, we were touching on it just before we got onto the services for Enervia, but in terms of the industry at the moment, you mentioned there's projects going ahead, there's projects being delayed. One of the major ones, I know you didn't mention names, but would be, VNI West is obviously the headline that came out a few weeks ago around the 2-year delays on that one. But then you've got like NWTD in Tasmania, and you've got Clean Energy Link in Western Australia going ahead. So there's things stopping, there's things starting. It's a little bit all over the show in the industry at the moment. Where do you think things are at, and what do you think some of the challenges stopping things just from full steam ahead? What's the roadblock at the minute?
Look, as a team Australia, we are in a big competition with the rest of the world to get this transition to renewables or the clean energy to happen. So when you're in a competition, you need support from your teammates. You need support from everybody. Unfortunately, in some instances, we have competition within the team members, within Team Australia.
Right.
So the challenges that I see, which are impacting the industry the most, is the first and the most important one is the poor upfront planning of the projects. So the timeline, understanding the finances, having the right expectations as when the project is happening, when it's coming to market, how are we going to do it, how are we going to deliver it, what rules and regulations we have to have in place to be able to address the challenges. It's not just the industry, it's politicians, it's lawyers, it's all that team in the background which they need to work on these topics and make it happen. You know, the industry can do a portion of it, but there are other elements that we need to be sorted by other stakeholders. One other big challenge in the industry, I realize, it's the community issues when it comes especially to the transmission line and renewable projects, wind farms, solar farms, batteries. I don't think as industry, and I want to mention government role in that issue as well. I don't think we have done a great job in how we engage communities, how we teach them about the pros and cons of those projects, and how then we engage them in the delivery phase of those projects. So many of those projects are delayed because of the resistance that we see in the community, and in many instances, communities are right. Again, I'm a bit hesitant to mention name of the projects, but I was in a conference and we were discussing about this massive project which is happening in an area, and there are small villages and towns in that area which they have been inundated by the volume of the workers that are coming to that area. Everything has been impacted in their council, and it is just gut-wrenching to hear how much suffering is there from the community. What we could have done, or the government possibly, or the clients could have done, was that advanced planning that I'm talking about. You know, there was no planning up front to how to face those challenges. So don't take like 2,000 people into that region and consume all the resources that they have. Either it's a housing resource, it's a restaurants, foods, anything. We consume without the proper planning. So that's one example of how we have not engaged with the community as well. The other example is when a transmission line goes through someone's land or house, or some interesting areas. We are not engaged with the communities. We don't have a mechanism to address their concerns. The only place that I see that they've done something which I'm very happy about it is Queensland, that they have introduced this land owner payment scheme, which they go and pay the landowners as well as the neighboring landholders, and it has made the things move smoother and much better. New South Wales being the biggest state with large projects, I haven't heard if we have those type of schemes or solutions, and it is on government and clients to go and think about them and come up with a solution. They take so much time in negotiating with landholders to get the permission to go through their lands, and at the same time, the cost of equipment is doubling and tripling, and it is coming from the consumer's pocket.
Right.
Please go and do it early.
Yeah, it's interesting because one of my questions as well was going to be around the cost side of things, and because that's one of the things that's most talked about in the news. Transmission projects, they're going way over budget and that type of thing. So you're saying that relates more to the planning. If the planning was better, the cost would be kept more at a reasonable level. Is that what you're thinking?
You're pushing me towards naming some projects.
I'll try not to.
Now, look, let's make an example to just be very clear, and it doesn't undermine the great work that people have already done on those projects.
No, of course.
So, cost, yes. Always we hear cost blowouts. When a project gets delayed, of course, things go more expensive. I'll give you a very quick example. I was involved in PEC. We priced synchronous condenser package 20 million. When I worked on Central West Orana, the price of that similar package was 40 million, and nowadays it's around 70 million, thereabout. And if you're waiting a year, 2 years to get your EIS approved, you're going to face those cost blowouts anyway. If you're waiting 2 years to negotiate with the community, you have to pay that difference of $40-50 million. So you better pay the landholder. You better have the route of the line selected in a place that you have less impact on the environment, so your EIS is much faster to get approved. So to avoid communities and challenges with the communities, Hunter Transmission Project is going through the mountains and forests. The impact that it has on those mountains and the vegetation and all the other challenges with going through the mountains. It could have gone through the farmlands, made the construction easier, made the approval process much faster, and made the overall cost of the project much lower. Why we are not doing it, I'm puzzled. I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It's very much a contentious issue in the transmission industry at the moment, and one that keeps coming back around. Yeah, so I guess on the side of planning, so you've mentioned planning quite a bit, and especially around on the transmission line side of things, the way in which they're heading and that type of thing. That's obviously something that could be changed. If there was one other improvement that you could make around the planning side, aside from the way that we deal with landowners and that type of thing, what else would you kind of say could be improved outside of just the landowner issue?
About having the other stakeholders engaged,
right?
Which solar farm, which wind farm, which pump hydro is getting connected to that line, to that network. What is the future plan in terms of the load centers, in terms of the generations, in terms of the overall network growth that we need to do to make it happen. I'll give you one example. Project EnergyConnect. I was in a conference with some of the colleagues and some of the industry experts. We were talking about why Project EnergyConnect is going through so much land and therefore so much challenge, yet we are building it 330, which only delivers up to around 800 megawatt of power transfer capacity, if you like. Why didn't we make it 500 kV so it can deliver 4 gigawatts, which is needed? We need 4 gigawatts between those states, South Australia, Victoria, and New South Wales. Why didn't we build it 500? And the answer that one of the AEMO people provided was that unfortunately the planning for PEC had apparently started in mid or late 1990s. So, of course, back then, probably 800 megawatt was overrated, more than what was needed. Therefore, regulator would not approve to spend more money to build 500 kV. But because we have delayed it so much, I wish we had built it 500 kV and we had justification for that cost. So the planning bit of if we knew the load centers, if we knew the generations, and you know that project EnergyConnect could unlock so much new generations along the route of that line.
Yeah.
But the delayed planning or poor planning has taken away the chance of many of those generations to happen.
Yeah, that's I didn't realize that's when Project EnergyConnect actually started the planning process.
I'm not sure about it, but that's what the gentleman quoted and said, that apparently the conversation or the planning bit had started, but I guess it had stopped at some stage, or it had some challenges like that.
Yeah, it's been kicking around for a while by the sounds of it, but yeah, I suppose efficiencies like that make a big difference, don't they? As you say, between 330 kV and 500. So yeah, interesting. And on I guess we talked a lot about challenges, which is natural in a conversation like this, but on the more optimistic side, I mean, what do you see as some of the biggest opportunities for either businesses of varying sizes or even professionals within the industry at the moment? Like what excites you at this point in time for those two types of people?
We are at the start of something big, or relatively. We've been a few years into something massive and something big. And I'm very excited for the future and what it holds. Many people may think that, okay, this transition may take up to 2050 max. But I think, and I acknowledge that Australia is not a big manufacturing hub like China. China consumes lots of energy because they have lots of manufacturing. But we are not a big manufacturing country, and we don't produce many equipment or material in that sense. Therefore, you would think that the demand is going to drop after a while in Australia. But we have population growth, but then we have something much more exciting. And the landscape in the manufacturing is changing. The AI has introduced a new era for Australia. Australia being a safe country and a stable country. There are elements of manufacturing that we can do, like manufacturing of microchips, and also the huge thing which I see coming is the impact of AI and therefore the data centers.
Right.
I think there is so much potential for the investment in the data centers, and therefore so much potential to provide clean energy to supply those data centers, and therefore that would be a massive boom. I'm very excited to see how we can grasp that opportunity and play a big role in inviting all the data centers and all those infrastructure into Australia, and government is playing a massive role in it. It creates so much potential for us to learn, so much potential for us to provide those services, and so much potential for the companies, big or small, in Australia to be involved in delivering those services. Because remember, who pays for the data center? The consumers, the mobile users, the computer users all over the world. Who is providing that service? Australians. So the money from overseas comes to Australia by just building those data centers and selling the energy to those data centers. So it's a massive market ahead of us. Good planning, preparation would make us very successful in that. And that's what I'm saying, that the manufacturing landscape is changing. It's coming to robots, it's coming to high tech, it's coming, and I'm getting very excited for us how we are not only providing services, but also getting involved in that AI or manufacturing or, just learning and implementing those things as well in our industry. So, we are building so many wind farms, solar farms, inverter-based generation. How we can get AI integrated in those technologies to improve our performance. We are falling very short. Big companies are falling short on a tangible, practical implementation of AI in their operations.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is something that came up in my last conversation with Babak around AI, and that, I think the industry in general has only really scratched the surface at this point in time. And I think within the next few years, with how quickly AI is moving, the next few years is going to, I think, be some serious changes in how everyone's looking at things. So interesting. And I think, again, talking about scratching the surface, I think data centers are becoming more prevalent. But again, it doesn't seem like the boom has happened yet, has it? But I feel like that's just waiting to explode.
See, I'm not the expert. I don't claim to be an expert in the AI or the computer world anyway.
Yeah.
But the way that I see it, we think about, there are things that we can think of, but there are things that we can't even think of, which are in horizon or are coming. So I'll give you one example. We are talking about the data centers. Data centers generally support LLMs, large language models, something like ChatGPT.
Yeah.
But ChatGPT is a massive thing, and it needs that infrastructure, of course. In the future, soon, we will be transitioning to small language models, because you need cars to have their own brains rather than relying on the big brains somewhere else. So all those electricals, they need to have AI to control them without necessarily communicating with the data center. Robots, other plants. So SLM after a while may take over, and I'm just stipulating those possibilities. They may or may not happen, but there are things in the horizon in that space which we need to think and be prepared for. And if you're prepared and supporting the infrastructure for those things, those technologies can evolve faster and take over faster and better.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, it's an interesting time on that front, isn't it? I think things are changing very quickly. So yeah, we could be sat here in 3 years' time thinking about or talking about things that we didn't even imagine at this point in time having this conversation. So we'll see how that evolves. But all that stuff is so closely related, I guess, to the power industry, and as you say, the infrastructure that's needed to keep data centers going and get them set up and that type of thing. So
sure.
No, interesting.
And see, one of the things that I talk to my friends and partners in Enervia as what we can do is about automation of the design. I had that thinking back in UGL as well, and I wanted to have AI involved in the design. As AI comes and sits next to you and you teach them and they learn and they can do the design in the future. So the energy and the focus of the very talented engineers then is into the solving of the other problems and improvement in so many technical challenges that we have, and you can possibly leave a portion of the design for AI. So rather than you doing it fully yourself. So in the ideal world, if we had the capital and the resources, and if I wish at some stage we would heavily get involved in implementation of AI to the work that we do. And I'm excited for that time.
Yeah, no, it's going to be very exciting times, I think, seeing how it all evolves. And I guess one of the other big challenges, you touched on it earlier, was around talent and finding certain types of people within the industry. And obviously that's something where I operate in. And AI may or may not improve that, I guess, in terms of, I guess reducing the need for certain roles, which may be a good or a bad thing, I guess. But in terms of primary design engineers, I know that's your background, your area, and primary design engineers and primary designers are just so hard to find at the moment. And that's only 2 examples that I'm mentioning because of your background. But so many different roles that are difficult at the moment. I mean, what do you see as something that we can change to kind of help look at improving that, whether it's bringing people from overseas, mentorship, graduate programs, whatever it might be? Where do you see where we could make an impact on that front?
Look, I think first of all we need to make it attractive and exciting for young engineers. Many of the young engineers, if they are sort of into the science and the physics and the maths, they tend to go towards computer sciences or other areas. They don't want to necessarily come into the industry, which has been repeating the same work for the last 20 years or maybe even longer. So the implementation of the technology and adaptation of the industry to those new technologies will make it attractive for the others. So we'll have resources coming and the investment, of course, which is happening. We already have it. Okay, so it's just us changing and adopting new ways. Us as the industry, the companies, the EPCs, the clients. The other very big thing is, okay, you have those resources now coming or keen to come either from internal to Australia or from overseas. How do you want to teach them and how do you want to deliver that mentorship? And I've realized the mentorship is not like you can't prescribe something and it happens. It's the attitude in the leadership of the companies or which needs to change, which then spreads that culture of helping each other and working together. If a leader does not support that culture, it's not going to happen. The individuals of the team, if they see the other engineers a threat or they see a competition, it's not going to happen. We need to realize it's a team together. We are going to deliver it. So how I can teach the person next to me to be able to help me and support me when it's needed. And I promised all the engineers, there is so much work which for everybody, which you would never have any problem with the work if you teach the others. Don't worry about them taking your place. I don't want to have that, to hear about that mentality that this is going to happen. But yes, the mentorship is such a huge missing piece of the puzzle that we need to focus on. And it's not just us having the knowledge, but that culture of guys, teach the younger engineers.
Yeah, that information sharing culture, I guess. And I guess on that subject, is there, throughout your whole career, whether it's in Iran, Australia, or wherever, is there a piece of advice that you've always held on to through your engineering career that you felt like has really helped to kind of promote your journey and the way you've ended up?
Look, I have worked with some of the greatest people. I've had good people all the way through. And I remember I was working with, when I started in sort of my transmission career, I had a gentleman, back then I was probably like in my 20s, and the top manager of the company was probably in his 60s. He was the older gentleman. He had this very soft and kind approach towards people. And we both liked the literatures and poetry and, you know, the cultural chats. I liked it as a young person, and I remember him transferring that culture of honesty and being straightforward and being transparent to myself. It was something that I always felt blessed with, that advice, that just be honest, tell the truth, and do your best to help the others. And that's what I've been trying to do. And I think it helps a lot.
Yeah, nice. I guess that's what you've been living by since that advice, and yeah, it's gone pretty well so far. So no, that's pretty good advice, I would say. Oh, good stuff. And then I guess before we wrap things up, so what I like to do at the end of every conversation that we've been having on the Gridcast is just ask the same 3 quickfire questions. So I guess in the sense of quickfire, just the first thing that comes into your head, and let me know what your thoughts are. So first one would be, what technology do you think we'll be hearing about in the next, well, hearing more about, I should say, in the next 5 years?
AI.
Yeah. Okay. I can't disagree with that one, to be fair. So if you weren't in energy, what do you think you'd be doing instead?
Probably I would have been a football player.
Well, you'd be a very rich man, I would imagine, if you'd made it to a good level, that is.
I'm not sure, but I love sports,
yeah, nice.
and I love you know, playing football.
Nice.
My era in that type of work has ended, surely. But if I start all over again and I didn't have the opportunity to be an engineer, I would have been a football player.
Yeah, nice. And when you say football, is it UK type football, as in soccer over here, or is that your sport?
I mean football, the way that the English people will use the word. Yes, playing for Manchester United.
Oh, we probably need you at this point in time, to be honest, because we're not very good. No, that's good. And you still play a bit now? Are you still?
I go running and swimming, and that's what I love doing outside of work.
Yeah, nice. Good stuff, Amir. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure catching up with you as always. And yeah, you've shared some valuable insights, not only on your journey, but also kind of just on the industry and everything in general. So I've really enjoyed our conversation, and you've given a bit of good advice out there as well. So appreciate your time.
Thank you, and likewise, I appreciate your efforts, and I know you at Connect You are doing some great works, and the way that you have approached the market is absolutely unique and fantastic, and I congratulate you and your team, and I hope that we see more of you guys, and we see great stuff coming in your industry as well.
Perfect. Thank you, Amir. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, and have a good day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.